The French press have strict privacy laws and a tendency to turn a blind eye to the odd presidential love affair, which is what makes today's revelations so odd. The gossip magazine Closer published images this morning showing a man they claim is François Hollande in motorcycle helmet visiting the apartment overnight of a French actress. This incursion into the once sacred lives of French politicians has been met with the threat of legal action by the president himself. Jim Reid went to Paris and spoke to the magazine that broke the story.
It's a scandal that's made for Paris. The president, his motorbike, and claims of secret night rides to meet a glamorous movie star.
I'm up all night to get lucky.
It's all across 7 pages of France's Closer magazine. The glossy tabloid claims to have evidence that President Hollande has been cheating on his partner with the actress Julie Gaillet.
C'est d'abord une rumeur qui tourne depuis un an.
First, it was a rumour going around Paris, so we started looking into it. We have the photos of Julie Gaillet as she arrived at the apartment. Hollande arrives on the back of a scooter and goes up with his helmet on. He spends the night there.
The 59-year-old president, who lives with a prominent French journalist, has now said he is considering legal action, although he has not denied the story. The 41-year-old at the centre of these allegations is a well-known TV and film actress who once appeared in one of Mr. Hollande's election adverts. Rumours of presidential infidelity have been circling for months. On this French talk show, the panel couldn't resist dropping hints, here saying how much Monsieur Hollande loves Miss Gaillet's new film. But this scandal does have a serious political side. Monsieur Hollande won the presidency last year on a promise to keep his private life out of the headlines. Since then, he's lurched from one crisis to another. The economy is stuttering, unemployment is rising, and there have been protests against tax rises. The latest poll ratings show his popularity has fallen to just 26%, the first time a French president has ever gone below the 30-point mark. 8 out of 10 voters asked do not think he can win the next presidential election. Today's revelations come just days before a big political relaunch and a potentially embarrassing state visit to the Vatican.
Well, I don't think it's a scandal. When you look at Closer magazine, you see a president in love and scooting with just one bodyguard who actually delivers a bag of croissants the day after. It's quite endearing. On the other hand, the problem is that there are a lot of issues, domestic issues, that the French want their head of state to actually resolve, and as fast as possible.
But the fact these claims were made public in the first place is a surprise to many. The French might be happy to talk about sex, but they don't shout about it in public. France has some of the toughest privacy laws in the world. In theory, at least, it's a crime to publish information about someone's private life without their express permission. Past French presidents have certainly never had this level of intrusion. François Mitterrand famously kept a mistress and a daughter for much of his presidency, only acknowledging them just before his death. And Jacques Chirac was well known as a bit of a ladies' man, once confessing, "There have been women I've loved a lot," as discreetly as possible. Closer magazine said this evening that it would take the story off its website after a privacy complaint from Miss Gaillet. At the same time, its entire print run has already sold out across Paris.
We've taken one article off the website, but it had nothing to do with the veracity of the information. We took off the article because Julie Gaillet's lawyer asked us to, and we don't want to be sued, for the online version at least.
So a day of rumour and intrigue in Paris, but for a president dubbed Mr. Normal, a man seen by many to be without a strong personality, some think this scandal could be more a boost than a setback.
Jim Reid there. Well, Jacques Millard is a French MP from the UMP party in Paris. And with me is Bénédicte Paviot, the London correspondent for the international channel France 24. And Bénédicte, I'll start with you, because here we have a print run that has run out, and yet the French privacy laws as stringent as ever. Does that strike you as a kind of a crunch moment? I mean, the public want it, but the laws won't permit it.
No, it's not a crunch moment. I mean, the same editor of Closer, which is the French way of pronouncing it, was defending and saying that it was really important because the world was interested when Catherine Middleton or
Right.
Duchess of Cambridge had taken her top off in a private villa in the heart of Provence, and it was captured with a very long lens. This is not a watershed moment. President Sarkozy, who really, that was the watershed moment. When Carla Bruni Sarkozy posed on the top of the Élysée Palace, personally, I found that wholly inappropriate. And she, who was so successful at first at banning President Sarkozy from wearing Rolex watches, big, sunglasses, etc., and being the bling bling president, she really helped tone that down. She then to pose on the top of the Élysée Palace, I think was for many people quite disrespectful. And you can't just get good press when it suits you. And this is something, normally French presidents are quite distant. They are there, they have a certain distance. They have a government, they have a prime minister. So I think the watershed moment was with President Sarkozy. This is a man who has, she's now called his official partner. And of course, this is the first time we have a president who's not married. President Sarkozy was the first to get married, to get divorced, to have a child. So we got another first.
Jacques Millard, when you put it in that context, it seems odd almost that you'd get a president saying it's a deplorable invasion of privacy. Surely we've moved on. I mean, the British don't find that kind of invasion of privacy anything new at all.
It's certainly not very new. It's a long tradition in France that men and women have a love affair. The point is, it seems very annoying because it's very strange that the president on a motorbike is visiting his girlfriend. I think this is the case. This is not the case of scandalous liaison, a scandalous love affair, but this is the way it happens. It seems very strange that the president is riding a motorbike behind his guard and visiting his girlfriend like that. There's many other ways to meet a woman you love, and you don't need to hide like that. I think this is very clumsy.
Emily, no different, sorry, Jacques Millard. What about President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, when he infamously, allegedly, on one of his many night trysts, and he would pose a problem because he would disappear very often, had an accident allegedly on the riverbanks of the Seine with a milk cart? That was back in when? Was it?
This is true. This is why
so he's
everyone says this is very new. We seem to have in France a huge tradition of polygamy, for everyone. So nobody is going to blame him on that.
Okay.
Of course, we will smile. We will smile because, in fact, he will have a private problem with his official, girlfriend who is normally with him in the Élysée Palace. That's, I think, he will have to explain himself to her,
These are just allegations, of course. Do you think that the voters care? Do you think it will affect his political standing?
Well, traditionally we know two things. Traditionally we know that there is this, as Jacques Millard was rightly saying, there is a long list of presidents, whether it's President Mitterrand, Giscard d'Estaing, Sarkozy. We could go through the presidents. We could go before the last 30 years. So normally there is a great tolerance of liaisons and infidelities. And by the way, who's to say that all the British ministers in the government, or some of them, aren't, as we speak, having secret trysts, etc. I'm of course not alleging that they are, let's be clear. But so there is a very different tradition in France. And the bottom line in France is, number one, this does not affect your poll rating. And number two, but really the real number one is, if it doesn't affect your job, it's not in the public interest. So it's not just about the strict private laws.
Okay, but why, Jacques Millard, would he then take this to the courts? We know there's a threat of legal action. Do you think he's genuinely worried?
I think it's a mistake. I think, of course, everyone has, a right to protect his private life. But as things have been a rumor in Paris, I think it's a mistake to bring that to the court, because that will emphasize the rumor and say if there is some smoke, that means that there is a fire. But in fact, I think that in terms of politics, it will affect the president only because, you know, he's dealing this kind of things and not focusing on his job. That means to try to solve economic problems and unemployment.
Thank
This
you.
is the main point.
Thank
but
you
I think
both.
it will pass very quickly.
Has France
I'm
got
so
a new
sorry
First
we've
Lady?
run out of-
Has she got have we got a new French First Lady?
We'll bring you back next week when we know. Thank you both very much indeed.